If you're not getting traction with your content, it could be one of many reasons. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the different reasons that people may be turned off by your content. And then I'll walk you through how to fix each one of these. And by the way, most people who are trying to do content marketing in 2024 have these same exact issues. We have to keep in mind that the online space in 2024 is very different than it was a year ago, even just 6 months ago. And one of the things that I try to keep my students understanding is about market sophistication, because guys, the market now is more sophisticated than ever. People know what webinars are. People know what, two-step posts are. People know when they are trying to get sold into something. And so we have to stand out when it comes to our content, because people already think that they know what's going to happen. And so as I'm going through each of these reasons that could be why you're not getting traction, I'm going to give you a solution to fix every single one of them, okay? So let's start off with the first one. It is actually probably the thing I tell my students the most. If you are trying it for less than 90 days, you're not giving it enough time. Even myself, it took me over 100 days of just going live and being consistent, and still I started to see traction. But here's what actually happened. So my first 90 videos or so, they didn't get much traction. It was like freaking crickets. But once people started watching video 102, 103, they started actually going back and watching my older content, and that content kept getting put back into the newsfeed in front of new people. And so you have to be consistent. One of the things that I tell my students is it's 90 days to data. This is not 90 days to success like so many people want you to believe. It's 90 days to data. If you release one new piece of content every single day for the next 90 days, a couple of things are going to happen. One, you're going to get better and better at doing content. You're going to get better on camera, which is going to lead to another problem that people actually have, and we'll get to that in a minute. But also, it is going to increase your reach and impressions, and it's going to tell Facebook that you're putting out relevant content. And so it's actually going to start picking up traction. You're going to start getting engagement, and it's going to compound really, really fast, because it's like a flywheel, right? Like, think about if you are trying to push a tire up a hill, right? The first couple of pushes are really, really hard. And that's where a lot of you guys are right now. You're like struggling to push that tire. But what happens if you start and stop, right? You're actually going to lose momentum, and you're actually going to go backwards. And so a lot of you guys, you're starting and stopping. And so you're losing that momentum, and you're actually going backwards, okay? So if you're trying it for less than 90 days, and honestly, it should be more like a year and looking at data over a year than 90 days. But I get it. You guys want to get data fast, and so let's take a look at least 90 days of data, okay? Now, ask yourself, are you doing the flywheel daily? Like, this is something that I created to ensure that my private clients in Lean on Laurel were actually doing new pieces of content every single day. And a lot of them just didn't have the structure in order to do that. And so that's why I actually came up with the 7-day content flywheel, which literally is 7 days of content over and over and over again, and it gets that flywheel going so that it can continue to compound over time. So if you have no idea, maybe you've never seen my content on the 7-day content flywheel, drop me a line below this video, and I will give you a simple little video that will literally get you on track for doing content and ads every single day, right? Because think about this. If you put out one new piece of content, remember, ads are just organic content with money on it. That's all they are. A lot of people think they're different things. Ads are just content, really. And so if you put out one new piece of content every single day for 90 days, you are going to tell me that you won't have at least 3 or 4 winners in that bunch. It's all about volume. I'll be real. 9 out of the 10 ads that I launch fail, and that's okay. But you know what? There's no failure. There's only feedback. And so the more that I can put out there, the faster I fail, the faster I get to those winners, okay? What is another reason? Well, this is something a lot of people get a little confused on when I say that your audience doesn't want your offer. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't mean that you have to change anything about what you're doing. It just means that you might have to repackage your offer and put a new wrapping paper on it. A lot of people think that what they sell is their offer, and that is not true. Your offer is how you actually present the thing that you sell, right? So for me, I sell ad strategy, right? My offer is I will take you from 2 to 3 times your return on ad spend into 30 to 40 times the return on ad spend in the next 30 days. That is an offer, right? But I could also repackage that offer and say something like, I will help you launch your ads in the next 7 days. I can repackage it and say, hey, I will help you write your next 15 pieces of content and launch them in Ads Manager for just $5 a day. One in, right? There's so many different ways that we can package our offer, and being able to understand how to test different angles and different variations is super important, okay? That's how you fix that. Now, another big problem that I'm seeing is that people are staying broad in their content and they're not solving small problems, right? You know, I just had a talk with one of my Lean on Laurel students this morning, and he was like, well, you know, what if instead of serving this small business market he wanted to target certain types of entrepreneurs, but then when his content wasn't getting traction, he's like, well, what if I start just giving general business advice? I'll go more broad in my content. And I was like, that's actually not going to solve your problem, because then that's going to put you in a category with people like Alex Hormozy and, you know, Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and all of these people who have really large followings. The best way to actually stand out is actually by going smaller. So it's not the problem of you going too niche. It's actually the problem of you might not be putting out the content or the offer that your audience wants. And so let's actually fix the problem. Let's not create bigger problems, right? Another example of getting too broad in the content is I see so many people say stuff like, you know, I'm going to help you make your first, you know, $10,000 months or something like that, right? That is a very broad problem to solve, right? But if you can help someone get their first 10 phone calls in the next 7 days, that is going to be very specific. That's going to solve a smaller problem, right? If one of my students comes to me and says, Laurel, I'm not getting any messenger conversations, I might put out an offer that says, hey, I'm going to show you a single $5 ad that on average gets 100 messenger conversations a week. Would you want to learn how to do that, right? And so you guys can see, like, if you learn how to solve smaller problems in your content, that is the type of content that's going to resonate with people, because people are tired of hearing these big, broad offers about making all this money. That's a situation. People have a lack of time, or they have a lack of money because of certain situations. How can we break that situation into smaller problems? Which, by the way, I have created a neat little exercise that allows us to break down those very big situations into bigger problems and smaller problems. My students say it's the most valuable piece of content that I've ever put out about making content. So drop me a line below this video and let me know that you want the situations problem exercise, and I will literally give it to you. I won't ask you for email or any information. I'll literally just drop it to you right there in Messenger. Next problem is that your content isn't standing out from thousands in your niche. That just kind of goes back to my student who wanted to go more broad in his content, and, you know, just having to compete with thousands and thousands of people who are in the business space. You're actually going to stand out by actually solving smaller problems. Okay. Now here's a big one. You present yourself poorly online. Now this one is actually going to fall into this next one right here, okay? So what does it mean to present yourself poorly online? Well, maybe you are a complainer all the time. Maybe you post weird stuff. Maybe you just don't show up on video in a way that your audience is looking at you as an authority figure, right? So we have to consistently show up online and actually present ourselves in a way that is appropriate for our audience, right? If you are targeting people who are high performers and you show up in t-shirt and you're sitting on your couch and, you know, you're doing talking head videos and there's stains on your shirts, obviously, if you're trying to attract high performance people, they're probably not going to take you seriously. Now, one that ties into this is you don't appear to be who your ads say you are on your profile, on Instagram, everywhere, right? I see so many people who are running ads and they're saying that they're a certain type of expert, but if you go and actually dig into their personal profile, which by the way, people who see your ads do go do their research. They might not have done it a year ago. They are doing it now because too many people have gotten scammed or conned into buying things from someone who wasn't who they said that they actually were. And so people are digging deep into this realm of content. And so if you say that you are a certain person, right? Let's say like me, right? Like I don't claim to be an ads expert. I don't believe anyone is an expert in doing ads, but I do say that I am pretty good at doing advertising. And so if someone sees my ads, they can literally go to my Instagram, they can go to my profile, heck, they can come here to my hometown and they're gonna see Laurel is exactly who she says she is. Like I am like, I actually just told my my students this and Lean on Laurel just yesterday. I said, you have to become your marketing, right? You just don't turn it off. And so a lot of you guys are turning yourself on and off as you're getting on and offline, but you have to just be who you are, and you have to learn that the game has changed, and you have to up your game, guys. You have to up your game. Here's a big one. I see it a lot. You don't work on your skills. I'm actually going to highlight this one because this one is huge. So I had a student in Lean on Laurel a couple of months ago. She's no longer in the program now, but she was having a sales conversion problem. And I kept telling her, I said, you need to fix your sales conversion. And she kept arguing with me saying, well, no, I need to change my webinar. I need to change all of this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're getting people on the phone calls, but you're not closing. And she's like, well, how do I do this? And I literally gave her a list of 2 books that have helped me immensely, right? And so I asked her, I said, well, what books about sales have you read lately? And she's like, well, I've never read one. And I was like, okay, that's weird. If you need to solve a sales problem, you probably should be thinking of every single resource that you have in order to solve that problem. I asked her, what kind of sales courses have you taken lately? Well, I didn't do that, right? And so one of the things that I teach my students is if you have an immediate bottleneck, like in this case it was sales, you need to be spending your entire 90 days solving that one problem. Changing up your webinar is not going to solve that problem. It's funny, I went to Traffic and Conversions, this huge convention that's held, in Vegas by digital marketer, right? Ryan Dice and Roland Frazier. Awesome event, but here's the thing. There were so many people in the room that were seeing all of these shiny objects from all of these presenters about lead gen, right? Hardly anyone in the room has a lead gen problem. Most of them have a sales conversion problem. And so all of these people were changing up all of their marketing and all their lead generation, but at the end of the day, they weren't looking for the solution of the thing that was actually going to move them forward. And so if you are not good at video, you need to go get good on video. Watch some courses, study some of your competitors. How do they present themselves online? Like that, it all goes back to how bad do you want this? Are you going to become your marketing, right? For instance, like I sit there and I watch Alex Hormozi videos and I watch Gary Vee videos. Why? Because they present information so well. That is still a skill that I need to work on. I am a technician. I am in the trenches, and I forget that a lot of you guys don't know a lot of the terminology that I do. Alex Hormozi and Gary Vee talk to in common language much better than I do, and so I study the way that they speak from the stage. That is something that I'm continuously working on, and that is why I keep getting better and better. So a lot of you guys are relying on a single course, you're relying on a single thing, when really everything works, but you have to keep improving your skills. Every single day I set aside 30 minutes and I learn a skill, or I study, or I work on it, on something that I'm not good at, and it's something that's going to help me in this immediate moment. I don't do random things like one of my students sent me a video the other day, and he's like, isn't this a really cool technique? And I was like, well, what is it about? And he's like, oh, it's about AI and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, honestly, thank you for sending this. I was like, but here's the thing. My brain only has capacity for only a certain amount of information can be in my brain every single day. And I want to spend my time on the thing that's going to move my business forward. And so it was no offense to that student. I thanked him for sending it, but it wasn't the thing that I needed in order to move the needle at that moment in time. Okay, this one's a huge one. Your business page has little to no content. This goes back to, if you're running ads, people are going and checking out your content. And this has been proven, and it has been told to me by several Facebook reps that Facebook rewards the pages who are putting out engaging content. It looks really bad, and it is a huge red flag if you're running ads and people go to your business page and there is zilch on there. Like, that just screams scam, okay? So make sure that you're putting out content. And we're going to end with this one, because this one, guys, is a huge one. Huge, huge, huge. I'm going to highlight this. You change up your expertise every single week. One day you are a spiritual entrepreneur. The next 2 weeks you are an ad expert. Then you go back to, oh, I help people with sales calls. Oh, I help people with this. Changing up your expertise does not look good. And we all know that you are struggling to find the thing, and that's cool. Struggling, it's very frustrating, but this is where you have to pick one thing that you really love, because at the end of the day, if you don't love doing what you do, you're not going to become it, right? Like me, I love freaking content. I do it all the time. I've been doing it even back when I worked in television, right? Content has always been my jam. Even whenever I was in high school, I loved, having the video camera and doing content even before social media was a thing. That's what makes me show up every single day, is because it's something I truly love. And so if you're forcing something, then that should be a sign that maybe you shouldn't be doing this, and you need to find something that you love and follow that passion and stop chasing the money, because 2024 is not going to have room for people who are testing the waters, who are getting their feet wet. If you want to win in 2024, you got to become your marketing. You got to do it consistently. And guys, I will say this, your audience knows if you are faking it till you make it. I'll see you guys on the next video.